Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Hector Rivas, and today we're going to talk about your template creation for your final project. You either have decided to work on your game level or your animated scene. Regardless, I'm going to show you in this tutorial how to get your template started, and it's going to be in Illustrator. So this is how you do it. Let's get started. So first, you look at your final project sheet here that tells you all your steps. And you're going to see that step 1 is to create an Illustrator file template. And if you're doing a game level, it's going to be 90 inches by 20 inches. But if you're doing an animated scene, it's going to be 1920 by 1080 pixels. So let's go ahead and get started by creating the animated scene first. Okay, this is how you do it. You open up Illustrator. Let's see, I'm going to move this over here. You create a new document. Remember the shortcut? It's Command N. Command N, new document, and you go to this field here on the right hand side where it tells you the dimensions. You're going to switch it from inches to pixels, and you're going to do width, what is it, 1920, is that what I said? Let me see, let me double check here. Let me double check the size. I think it's 1920 by 1080. Yeah, 1920 by 1080. I'm gonna write that down on paper because I often remember numbers. I have a hard time remembering numbers. I think most artists do. Okay, so let's do it again. Command N for new document. Go to the right hand side here, go to pixels and type in width, it's 1920, height, it's 1080, which is a high definition television size. The naming of your file should be first name underscore last initial underscore final underscore GL for game level, or in this case it's an animated scene 01. I'm asking only for one animated scene or one game level. However, if you want to do extra credit, which is not a lot of extra credit, it's enough to move you from like a minus to a plus, or if you're in the borderline of a plus and the next grade, I would bump you up to the next grade level. Okay, so here are the specs for it, and then you press create, and there it is. This is your high definition television canvas. This is where you're going to create your art. So in a second, I'm going to show you how we're going to start building this. The next one is for the game level. If you decided to do the game level, you're going to follow the same procedure, which is Command N for new document. But before we do that, let's double check the size on it. What size are we asking for? 90 inches by 20 inches, as you can see right here. 90 by 20. So I'm going to go to here to Illustrator, create a new document, Command N for new document, and go to the right hand side, and this one's going to be in inches. So you go to inches and you type in the specs. So width is going to be 90 and the height is going to be 20. 90 inches by 20 inches, which is huge. It's a huge document. Now, this is if it's a side scroller going from left to right, or left to right, or right to left. It's 90 by 20. But if you're going to be a top down or a down to the top, then it should be the opposite, right? It should be width 20 and the height should be 90. Okay, so this is for most of the students prefer using this size here. And then naming convention would be first name underscore last initial underscore GL for game level 01. I'm sorry, before that it should be final underscore game level 01. And again, I'm only asking for one game level. If you choose to do a second game level, it's extra credit for you. Okay, so 90 by 20, and then we press create. And here's your document size. 90 inches wide, 20 inches high. Okay, so now, getting your layers. Let's organize your layers. So step 1, to organize your layers. Whether it's your game level or your animated scene, you need to do this first step, which is go to up to window from the pull down menu and go to layers. This window is going to come up. Okay, now let me show you how layers work. Okay. In a previous lesson, I covered how layers work in Illustrator, but just as a quick reminder, a refresher, if you will, I'm going to go ahead and create a quick document here, or a quick example. Okay, so layer 1, if you double click on it, where it says layer 1, you see you can relabel this, and I'm going to call this one background. And I'll create a new layer, and I'll call this layer, double click on that, and I'll call this one foreground. Create a new layer. So I'm organizing myself here, and I'm going to call this one, let's say I'll call this one character art. This is where I'll have all my character art. I have foreground, background. I can have midgrounds if I want to. You organize it however you best see fit. I just want it to be nice and organized here. The next one is going to be maybe projectiles, depending on the kind of game that I am producing. You are going to create the layers that are appropriate for your game. Okay, but I want multiple layers. I don't care how many, as long as it's organized. Okay, so that's how you create your layers. Let's see, the next step is going to be dropping your pieces. So let's do a quick tutorial on how to get you started. So I'm gonna create a green rectangle, a teal triangle, and then I'm going to create a circle that's the color red. Okay, so I have 3 geometry here. Notice that, I'm going to zoom in here. Notice that all 3 of these shapes are on the projectile layer, which is not what I want. So in order to move one of these items, let's say the red is the character art, this one, it's my character art. Whether it's a Photoshop document or an Illustrator document, I want this to go into my character art layer. So watch how I do it here. The key is this little blue dot right here, because I grab this blue dot while it's selected. So step 1 is selecting the character art, and step 2 would be moving this little blue dot down toward the layer that it belongs to. See, I moved it to character art, or if I wanted to do foregrounds or backgrounds, I move it that way. Let's say this green piece here, I want this to go to backgrounds. So then I move that little blue dot and I put it on backgrounds. And so now it should look like that. I can hide a layer by checking off the eyeball here. And remember the shortcut of bringing items to the front? If I do Command Shift right bracket, here, let me see, Command, I'm going to show you on this keyboard here. If I do Command Shift right bracket, that brings to the front. So I'm hitting it to bring to the front. But you notice that it's not getting in front of this blue triangle. And the reason why is because this character art is underneath the projectile layer. So it could never go, it can go to the highest within its layer. So these are like sub layers, but it can never be on top of the projectiles layer. So if I want character art to be on top of projectiles, then instead of bringing to the front that shortcut, I'm gonna have to shuffle my layers. And this is how I do it. I click and I drag over it. And see, you now notice that the red circle is on top of my teal triangle. So I can shuffle my layers that way. Okay, so now let's go ahead and work with your final scene. If you're working on a final scene, you're going to create your layers similar. Bring up your layer window. Again, to do that, you got to go to Window from the pull down menu, and you go to Layers. And this comes up. And here, what you're going to do is create a new layer, and the bottom one is going to be the background. You're also going to have foreground. And then depending on what it is, let's say you're working inside the kitchen. Let's say it's the Simpsons kitchen area. You might want to have like cabinets. All the cabinets are on this layer. Or the table, the kitchen table and chairs are in a separate layer. So you label your layers appropriate for your animated scene. But I want to see your layers labeled properly and organized properly as part of your grade. Okay, once you do this, then you are done setting your template. You're done setting your template. Save it, and I would back it up into multiple places, because this is the one file that you're going to keep building onto it, and you're going to keep saving it. And I would recommend that today you save it as version 1, and then tomorrow version 2, version 3. That way, if in case anything goes wrong with your computer or your software crashes on you or anything like that, if you have to go back, you only go back one step, as opposed to I have to start from scratch. And the way to save it as multiple versions is like this. At the end of your day, go to Save As here, and you save it to the desktop or wherever your folder is. But at the end of your naming convention, I would put _v1, version 1.ai, and then tomorrow, version 2 and version 3. And some people say, well, you know, that's a little too much because by the end of my project, I'm going to have like 10 files. Yeah, it's true. It's almost like an insurance. You're hoping you don't have to use it. You know, like worst case scenario is you don't use it. Like your computer doesn't go corrupt, or your file doesn't go corrupt. Your computer doesn't crash on you. But in the event that it does crash, you are gonna be so glad that you used this system, because again, you only go back one step. You only lose a few hours, as opposed to losing everything and starting all over again. And of course, you know, maybe after every 5 versions, you can trash the first 4. You know, that way you can keep forward that way, and you don't take up too much memory on your computer. That's just an old tip from me. It's always good to have backups of the backups, and it's always good to have multiple versions. That's how we do it at different studios, how we've been doing it, just in case something crashes. You don't want to be the person that shows up to a meeting and say, oh, my computer crashed, I don't have a backup of the file. Then it reflects poorly on you because it's poor planning. Okay, that concludes this lesson. On the next lesson, I'm going to show you how to start building your pieces. Thank you for watching.